I used to think that I would know God was working because my circumstances would start changing. A new opportunity would appear, or a door would open. A prayer would finally be answered in the way that I had hoped. Something visible would happen. But the longer that I walked with God, the more I've realized that His greatest work is often the work that no one else can see. And sometimes not even I can see it. We live in a world that celebrates what is obvious: the promotion, the business that takes off, the transformation that everyone notices, the success that can be measured. But God's kingdom doesn't always work that way. Before there's fruit, there are roots. Before there's a harvest, there's a seed that gets buried in the ground and covered up. And while everyone is looking for what grows above the surface, God, He's often doing His greatest work underneath it. And the more I've looked back on seasons that felt slow, confusing, and even disappointing, at the time I thought that nothing was happening. I wondered if my prayers were getting answered. I wondered if I had taken a wrong turn. I wondered why life felt so quiet to me. But looking back, those were just the seasons that changed me the most. Not because everything around me became easier, but because something inside me was becoming different. I became a little bit more patient, a little less anxious, a little less attached to the things of this world, a little quicker to forgive, and a little more grateful, a little more willing to trust God without needing every answer. None of those changes happened overnight, and none of them would have made an exciting announcement, but they mattered because God wasn't just building a different life, He was building a different man. I think that's something we miss sometimes. We ask God to change our situation. He starts changing our heart first. We start asking Him to remove the obstacles, but He teaches us endurance through those. We ask for comfort, He teaches us dependence. We ask Him to make life a little bit easier for us. He makes us stronger, not because He's ignoring our prayers, but because He sees something bigger than immediate relief. He sees who we're becoming. When I think about a tree, the part that everyone admires is the part that they can see: the height, the branches, the fruit that it bears. But none of that exists without the roots that nobody applauds, without the vine that holds the branches. The roots don't get attention, they don't get compliments. They just keep growing in the dark, quietly, faithfully, holding the tree steady long before anyone notices its growth. Maybe that's where some of us are today. Maybe your roots are growing. Maybe it feels like everyone else is moving ahead while you're standing still. Maybe you're wondering why your life doesn't look the way that you hoped it would by now. I know I've asked those questions too, but I've started wondering if standing still isn't always standing still. What if God is strengthening what will eventually support everything that He's going to entrust to you? Because if the roots aren't deep enough, the fruit won't last. I've noticed that God rarely seems to be in a hurry. I am, but He isn't. It takes time to shape people. He takes His time in shaping you. Abraham waited, Joseph waited, David waited. The disciples spent years walking with Jesus before they understood so much of what He was doing. God never seemed interested in rushing formation because character isn't manufactured overnight. It's formed one decision, one surrender, one ordinary day at a time. That's not always exciting, but it is beautiful. I've begun praying different prayers lately too. Not God, make my life bigger, but God, make my heart more like yours. Not help me get there faster, but don't let me miss what you're trying to teach me while I'm here. Those prayers have changed me because I've realized that one day the opportunities will come and go. The money's going to come and go. The recognition will come and go too. But the person I'm becoming, that'll echo into eternity. Maybe that's why God cares so much about the hidden work, because hidden work produces lasting fruit. So if you're in a season right now where it feels like nothing's happening, don't assume that God has stopped working. The deepest work rarely makes headlines. It usually happens in the quiet and the waiting and those unseen moments where faith chooses to trust before it understands. One day, you may look back and realize that the season that you wanted to escape was the season that prepared you for everything that came after it. And maybe that's how God works most often, not by changing everything around us first, but by changing everything within us. Because before God does a great work through us, he most always does a greater work in us. And I just hope you know that and you keep that with you and you keep that inspiration and that perspiration going, knowing that God is creating something in you that he already placed before you got here. And it's just going to be activated. Let persistence finish its work in you today so that you can reap those fruits. And until next time, I appreciate you just for being here. Peace.